Welcome. You're listening to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Mike McDowd. I think Russell Jackman is off today. We are going to have a special guest coming in the next segment. Mike, you want to tell the audience who's going to be coming on in our next segment?
So what kind of show are we?
We are a sports and business show.
Okay, that's good to know. I just want to make sure that's still the case. All right. Yeah, we got a great show. I mean, you know what? Christmas is here. I've got a little reindeer in the background there with the Santa shirt here. So Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy Hanukkah to all of my friends who are Jewish. And, a story that really is compelling. And Edward, you and I love these, but we're going to have a gentleman on. I'm going to tease him. I've actually known him longer than he thinks, but his name is Fred Funk, famous golfer, has won some incredible tournaments, and we're going to talk about his career. What's really I find most inspiring about Fred is he's got a story of adversity, and I think this story needs to be told, especially at Christmas time, because it's a story of hope. And it's a story of a guy who didn't know how to quit. And guess what? Things worked out pretty good for him. So we're going to have Fred Funk on. And he's a pretty darn nice guy, too.
Well, we always like that. And we're always nice to our guests. Always nice to our guests because we want them to come back. You know, we always tell guests we're not Jerry Springer. You know, we don't put people on that kind of situation. All right.
God bless his soul, by the way.
Say again?
May God rest his soul. Jerry Springer.
Oh, yeah. That's right. I guess he did pass on. Yeah. Wow.
Jerry.
All right.
Come on.
Audience, stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. Don't touch that dial. We are going to be right back with our special guest, famous golfer, Fred Funk. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown along with Mike McDowd. Mike, please reintroduce our special guest.
I shall if I must, and I guess I must. So, really, really excited to introduce a gentleman who, believe it or not, Fred Funk is his name. If you know anything about golfing, you know his name, you know his game. He's pretty darn good at what he does. But, Fred and I have a big history as well, because originally we met Fred. I know he's sitting there patiently. Fred and I originally met near the garbage can about 4 years ago. We were taking my trash out, and we were talking, and I'm like, and Fred was telling me about his workout and how many miles he walked. I said, well, that's pretty cool. I mean, that's awesome. And then that was it. Fred and his family moved, and I reconnected. Well, he's got a lovely wife, and his wife has actually found my wallet twice. I lost my wallet twice, and his lovely wife found my wallet twice. So I reconnected with Fred and my significant other, Katie, on the beach just a couple days ago. We chatted, and so good to really finally talk to Fred more. And Fred and I live pretty close in proximity right now, and that's pretty cool. But Fred, listen, welcome to Sports Econ 101. We are heard coast to coast, border to border, and overseas with our U.S. military. And really, you've got a great story of passion and pride, and you love the game of golf, and golf's treated you pretty good, hasn't it?
Yeah, and this is probably the longest I've ever stayed quiet, waiting for somebody to introduce me. We did meet by the trash can, but I think when I was here the last time, because we moved to Texas, and then ironically we came here for the month of December. We're getting ready to move back to Texas in Austin at the first of the year. But when you were saying I was walking, I had just come off back surgery that first time, and I was walking the beach. I wasn't able to play golf yet. And my rehab, I got bored walking the beach actually on the first day, and I decided to jump in the water in the ocean, and it was perfect surf, not very many waves. So I was getting up to waist high and started walking through the water, and it was against the current. And I went about a quarter mile down the beach, and then I turned around and walked back, and I did that for 30 straight days. And I actually went where I turned it into, where I would go to my marker of the houses a half mile down and a half mile back. and it was a really good workout. But then I realized a couple times when I was walking near dark that there's a lot of big fish in here that might be around me that I can't see, and they can see me.
Yeah, Fred, that's true. I like to call them the men in the gray suits, and
Yes, yeah,
those little
the
fish.
Sharky.
And that's the
Yep.
thing about the Atlantic, about living in Florida. The water is, especially we are in the Ponte Vedra Beach area. It's not clear, so darn well that those little suckers are swimming around you, and you have no clue. And believe me, that gets in my head. I don't know about you, Fred.
Well, it
I
did.
gotta say,
When I look back, I think I was pretty lucky. I didn't get at least a little nibble, like a
you know,
test bite.
so Mike knows this. So in California, in Marin County, where I live, there's Stinson Beach, and every once in a while there will be some shark attacks, and they'll post signs. And I remember going in the water and just saying, okay, well, okay, they're there, but I remember hearing someone tell me that if you ever get close to a shark like that, you just got to punch him right in the nose. And so I'm in the water and you can't see much, but I'm going like this, waiting, and if anything gets near me, I'm gonna hit it.
Yeah, the
I didn't
problem
get
is
hit.
you punch them in the nose with their mouth open, they bite your arm off. So
That's true. So I have to first tell them, please close your mouth so I can smack you.
exactly. No, this would be
Yeah.
fun. I don't know where you want to start, so you can tee me up and
Well,
I'll take it from
I
there.
think let's rewind a little bit because I think it's really important to know people know a little about who you are. I believe, born in Maryland, and you grew up there. You were a really good high school athlete, played multiple sports, and in particular, one sport that stands out to me, and I want to let you, of course, you're the expert, you're the pro. It helped you. You were a boxer for like 8 years, and I don't know if a lot of people know that about you, but that mental training had to be significant in your golf game. Was it not true?
Yeah. When I look back, and I've always had a pretty good work ethic, no matter what I did. And yeah, I did grow up right by the University of Maryland. I actually took a bus to elementary, junior high, and high school, and walked to college. So, and the university golf course was um, really close to my house. The 15th tee and the 14th green was like a 6 iron away from my house. So I used to sneak on back in the early days. But I actually took up the game when I was about 10. I took up boxing when I was 8. And I just did boys club level sports, so basketball, football, baseball. But I love the discipline of boxing for whatever reason. I like getting hit and I like hitting people at the time, but I never felt like I won anything. I always felt like even if I so-called won a boxing bout that, you still felt beat up. But the discipline of the training definitely, as I look back, uh, I think it really paid off in the long run because I felt like in the big picture, I felt like I had once I got out on tour that I had to outwork people to beat them, and that's what I tried to do. I practiced really hard. Um, yeah, I should say. Well, you can say it, and I get in trouble for. But I was the white VJ back then. I would VJ just sits on the range. I live here. He lives here in Ponte Vedra, and he's on the range 8 hours a day. I had a little different where I would love to practice and hit balls, but I love being on the golf course. So I would play 36 holes a day, and when I wasn't working. So I started working there when I was 11, cart boy, range boy, and then I worked my way all the way up. And I was just a decent player in high school. I was one of the better players, but not great. And when I actually, people probably don't know this story. So when I got to Maryland my freshman year, the fall of 1975, they had a really good team. They had two guys that were all honorable mention All Americans or third team All Americans, and that was pretty good for a Maryland golf team, being in the ACC and the most northern school back then. And the coach didn't give me a spot, and I had to qualify. It was 12 rounds of qualifying on the university course that I knew like the back of my hand, and I finished 13th. I made a 12 on no, I made an 11 on the second hole, this par three, and I got stuck in this dry creek. I thought I could get it out, and I didn't, and it turned into a catastrophe. So anyway, I missed by one and making the top 12, and he cut me, and so I didn't have the golf there. And then I actually wasn't a great student because I had two jobs. I was working as a newspaper where I dropped the papers off to the carriers in the morning, and I was working at the golf course at the same time, and trying to go to school. And I flunked out, and I went to junior college in Maryland at PG County Community College. And what was funny there was, and this is kind of the avenue that got me part of the way there, was we had all the derelicts that were the number one players in PG County, and six of us showed up at the same time. We all were just not good students, and but we were really good players. And we went to the junior college nationals both years in a row. Um, all those guys were drinkers and smokers and all sorts of stuff, and I didn't do any of that. And I was real serious when I went to the nationals, and they were just having a good time. And so we didn't do good as a team. But um, when I went back to Maryland, I transferred back after my 2-year degree, and I was a number one player then. And well, top three anyway. I was number one sometimes, and we didn't have a great team, but we had a pretty good team, and that helped a lot. And then I went broke on the mini tour when I turned pro in 1981. Go ahead, Ed.
All right. Yeah, I was going to say that we're going to cut to our break here. We're going to come back and I want to hear
Okay.
the rest of the story for sure. All right. Here's our first trivia question. And just a reminder, Fred, if you know the answer, don't say anything quite yet. We'll give you a chance when we come right back from break. Which nut is actually a seed from a tropical fruit and often mistaken for a nut?
Really?
That's
That's a good one.
number one. Which nut is actually a seed from a tropical fruit and often mistaken for a nut? Stay with us. Sports Econ 101. I'll be right back with our special guest, golfer Fred Funk. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. One more time, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mike McDowd and our special guest, golfer Fred Funk. First trivia question: which nut is actually a seed from a tropical fruit and often mistaken for a nut? Anyone?
No idea. No idea.
Good. A cashew.
What?
A cashew, yeah. A
Really?
cashew, yeah.
Really?
I
It's
love
like saying
cashew.
a polar bear, not a bear. Kind of a strange one. Okay. So Fred, finish off your story. We're talking, I guess you're back in 1981 at that point.
Yeah, I'm going to try to concise this a little more and get to the point. But yeah, I went to the mini tour in Florida, and I went belly up after the third segment of it in the fall. I was working manpower and had to clean out this burned out warehouse in the winter in DC. I went, man, this sucks. So I didn't think I got to do something other than this. And then my coach got promoted to assistant AD, and he said, "You want to coach the team?" I went, "Yeah, absolutely." And I didn't care what it made. I just had to get out of that burn house and that warehouse. And it was $18,000 a year, all the money I could make teaching, which I don't like teaching, never did. But I did a little bit of it. And then whatever I made in the section, which was the Mid Atlantic section, and back then they had a really good section. And in '84, I won the national assistants, and that got me in a few tournaments. And then in '84, '5, and '6, I kept qualifying for the U.S. Open and PGA and making a lot of those cuts as a club pro. And I went, I'm a little better than I think I am, or closer than I think I am. So let's keep going. And I actually tore a rotator in the end of '86, and that floored me for a year. And then I got my card in '89. And I think what really helped me was when I was a club pro and playing we had a Monday and a Friday pro-am, and we would take our 3 members or 4 members with us from Maryland, and we'd play a pro-am around all the different clubs in the Mid-Atlantic section. And the pros played with the amateurs on the white tees. So we were playing at 61, 6,300 yard golf courses. And I got used to shooting 63s and 4s and 5s because, they were just playing so short. And then when so I got so used to being under par that I started getting confidence when I was under par, even on a really hard golf course. And I think that was the reason I really improved a lot during that time as a club pro. And then I got my card in '89, lost it my rookie year, got it back, and I never had to go back to Q school. So it was kind of the goal that I always had. And it still is, actually. I just always had a goal that says, how good can Fred Funk be? How good can I ever be? And if it was good enough, great. And if it wasn't, I just wanted to know that I gave it everything I got, everything I had. I put in to being a PGA Tour pro, and if it wasn't good enough, I would have felt like, or I would hope that if I didn't have the career that I had, th- I would say I gave it everything I got. I just wasn't good enough,
Yeah.
and I
Well,
could have lived with myself with that. But if I didn't give it my all, and I felt like I left something in the tank, and then I fell off the tour and never got back, I don't think I could have lived with myself. So it was a personal thing. The one thing though, when I got on tour, it took me quite a while before I felt like I belonged out there. And even after I won out of nowhere in Houston in '92, my first win, um, I still felt, golly, I don't want to be that one and done guy. And I couldn't wait to win the second one, and that was harder to win than the first one because the first one kind of didn't fall in my lap. I played really well, but I didn't expect to win. And and anyway, then I got my second one, and then I started getting more and more comfortable. And then the funny part is that the odd thing is from 42 to 54, I played by far my best golf in that long stretch there, especially in my late 40s and early 50s. I was playing really good when I won the Players when I was almost 49. I won the Senior U.S. Open. I won on the PGA Tour and the Champions Tour and the regular tour when I was 51.
And
And
why do you think that was, Fred?
golly, you know, I had a game I was self-taught. I learned from a book called The One Move to Better Golf, with ironically was Carl Lawrence's book, who was a former University of Maryland player before my time, and that became my Bible to the golf swing. And it was a simple move, and I just bought into it. And I never had a lot of length. I couldn't overpower things, but I was deadly accurate when I was on. And when my putter got hot, um, like anybody's putter gets hot, it makes everything look good. So I was able to get confidence that my mindset when I was not mad at myself was, and I was always really hard on myself, but I always felt like when I went out there with my golf swing, I'm going to have a lot more opportunities for birdies and bogeys, and let's go out there and just enjoy it. And I tried to do that.
hey, Fred, is it fair? So obviously, as your life has progressed, you develop more confidence. And so, with that said, is it a fair statement to say, well, listen, I could have got successful really young and early, and through this adversity and this perseverance, I mean, it had to be that much more satisfying because guys that win it early, I don't think they understand. When you have a journey, it's a journey. Is that fair
Yeah.
enough?
Oh yeah, yeah. It was. I mean, I was almost 33 when I got on tour, so um, it was a long thing. But I did have a job. So when I was going through those Q schools, I had the coaching to fall back on. I wasn't making much money, but I was going to stay in the golf business one way or the other, being a club pro, I think, or a coach. So I had something to fall back on, and that somewhat took the heat off of me. I actually had the AD the first time I got uh, on the tour in '89, and he says, I want to be able to help you. I said, if you don't make it, I'm holding your job for you. And I went, wow, that's nice. And so the first year I lost my card, and I went to him. I said, listen, I got to go to Q school. I don't know what the odds of me making it. And I played really well in the Q school, but had I not made it, I had that to fall back on.
Well, hey, Fred, I don't know if correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you got a degree in criminal justice. Is that correct?
Yeah, I wanted to be the shortest cop ever. Um, I wouldn't at 5'7" or 5'8", whatever I was back then. I used to be 5'8". I'm about 5'7" now. Um, I w- they had to start hiring women to be qualified, and they did. So I
Well,
was going to be a
how
PG
serious
County cop.
were you active? Were you serious at all about becoming a cop? Or were you close to it, or?
No, I knew I wanted to give golf a chance first, but yeah, I did early on. Um, I did. I kind of wanted to be. Well, I wanted to be a forest ranger at first, and then I was thinking, that'd be cool, but yeah, wouldn't mind being a cop. So yeah, I was, I love our policemen. So, and I love our firemen, and I love our military. So, yeah, all that. I never was in the military. My brother was, but yeah, I love all those people. Totally
Well,
respect them.
and then of course you talk about your career, and I guess you'd have to say your signature one is that 2005 the Players Championship here in Sawgrass TPC. And how did that win change your life? I mean, is that
No,
the
no, it didn't change my life. It actually kind of screwed it up, uh,
huh?
because I was all set to just go straight to the Champions Tour at age 50, and so I'm a year, less than a year and a half, well, a year and 9 months away or something like that from turning 50. So I was playing really good, looking forward to doing that, and then I win. I get that 5 year exemption, and I go, oh crap! Now what do I got to do? I got to pick between the two tours, and I ended up trying to play both for three of those 5 years, and then I decided, I got to pick one or the other, and obviously the Champions Tour was the way to go. Um, so that's what I did, and then I actually won when I won Cancun the first year they had the Mayakoba event. I won that when I was 51, and that gave me another year exemption. And I'm like,
Hmm.
crap! Now I'm really messing things up.
Ah,
But it was a good problem to have. The purses were bigger on the tour, but it was just a lot easier pickings on the Champions Tour. It was nice to be. Back then, I was in contention almost every week, and it was really nice.
how
Well,
can I ask you, how do you think that how has golf changed since you were
Oh,
in your
geez.
prime?
It's for one, I can tell you, I compare my game and Corey Pavin to be pretty similar back in our prime.
Yeah.
We were short hitters. Corey was a magician, though. He could move the ball, hit any shot. I was just trying to hit a straight ball all the time and control my trajectory. But you'll never see a player like Corey and I ever again on the tour. It just, the length is overwhelming how far these guys hit it nowadays due to a lot of things. But, it's mainly the metal wood, how big the head has gotten and how forgiving that is. The graphite shaft, so you got a light head, a light shaft, has a lot of kick in it if you want it or stiff, and then the golf ball's just made to be hit really hard, high, and low spin, and it just doesn't come down if you have enough horsepower to keep it.
Gotcha. All right, guys, we're going to cut to our second commercial break here. This is another food question for you. Which leafy green is often called a superfood for its high nutrient content? All right, that's our trivia question. Email Edward at sportsecon101.com the answer to this question. Which leafy green is often called a superfood for its high nutrient content? Stay with us. Sports Econ 101 will be right back. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown here, along with Mike McDowd and our special guest golfer, Fred Funk. Second trivia question. Which leafy green is often called a superfood for its high nutrient content? And I hate this green.
And this is called the Stump the Funk portion of the show.
This is called Stump the
I have
Funk.
no idea.
I'll, I'll give it a shot.
Yes.
Kale.
Yeah, that is correct. Very good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
I used to juice kale, put it in with spinach and broccoli and all that crap, and good times.
Hey, I gotta add chocolate syrup to everything, then it's okay.
Oh man.
All right. Yeah, there's all kinds of weird rules that they started, like, what was it? You couldn't have the putter be attached to your chest?
Anchoring. Can't anchor.
Can't anchor.
Yeah.
Why not?
Well, you can't. Uh, well, it got to be too easy. It was just you had the butt end anchored, and it was very easy to repeat, and not have the putter go all over the place. So they took that away. Although the way they wrote the rule with anchoring now, you can anchor, but you can say, "I didn't have intent." I'm sorry, and I'll just keep anchoring. So a lot of people are really close, or they're still doing it. But what in my opinion, what they should have done, and would have been an easy fix, is just say the putter can only be the longest is 38 inches or 37 inches, and figure it out from there. You can do anything you want. You can anchor if you want, if it's that length. And then they turned into these things that are longer than the driver, and
Yeah.
and it's just it's weird to me. And they wrote the rule really terrible.
I wonder who kind of figured that out, because that's only been around like 10, 20 years or so, right? Anchoring. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't remember
20,
seeing it
20.
before. About 20 years.
What do
Yeah.
you mean? You mean to figure out the
I
method?
mean, yeah, because I mean, like, back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and
Well,
80s,
back in the day, they had putters that they would croquet, and then they stopped the croquet. Sam Snead used to
oh
putt
yeah,
between his legs, and then
right,
they
yeah.
had to go side saddle.
Why?
So
Again,
those putters were longer too back then. So that was the first thing when they changed. You couldn't do croquet style.
again, because they thought it was too much of an advantage.
Well, yeah, you're looking straight down the line, and there was no, yeah,
Okay.
mainly it was a
Yep.
visual thing.
But everybody can do it if they want. So it's an even
Yeah,
play.
but well, the game, I guess in their mind, got too easy, which
Yeah,
would never happen. Would
yeah.
never happen.
Yeah, right,
But
right.
When I got my hole in one, I said, "Yeah, this game is easy." I
I've
think I
never
forgot.
said that because I didn't want to jinx myself.
Yeah,
It's funny as a golfer, whether you're an amateur or a pro, and if you're really into golf, I can't imagine another sport where it's so mind and time consuming. You're never not thinking about it, and it takes a lot of time when you're doing it. And then usually, as a trying to make a living doing it, when I was playing well, I was always worried about when I was going to lose it, and when I'm
mm,
not going to play good, or when I was playing poorly, I was thinking, am I ever going to play good again?
yeah,
And it's just that going back and forth, or there's always different, there's so many different facets to the game, from, putting and chipping and sand game and playing in the wind, playing in the rain, driving irons. Um, you have some part of that. A lot of times you're not driving it well, so you spend all this time trying to get your driver going, or you're trying to get your wedges going, and you neglect the other parts of the game, and
yeah.
then they've got to catch up. So it's just a mind-boggling and time-consuming sport.
No,
It's actually,
I understand. I think I forgot to tell you that I'm a scratch golfer. I scratched
are
my
you?
head and I
That's
let that
awesome.
one go.
Oh. You
I'm
got
sure
me.
Fred's
You
never
got
heard
me
that
there.
one
My
before.
gosh,
No, I haven't heard. I never. That was good. It was well
yeah,
delivered. It was
that's a
really
good
well
one.
delivered.
Nice job, nice
Um,
job.
My handicap is the fact that they don't give me a mulligan on every shot. That's my handicap.
yeah.
No, I mean, I can hold my own, but anyway, go ahead. Mike.
Hey, and of course, our special guest, Fred Funk. And Fred, thanks for joining the show. Sports Econ 101. We're all over the country, so proud to serve our military overseas. And, one of the things, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but, it's obviously a big hot topic. And you got the PGA, the Live Tour. Ultimately, what's your quick thought on that? I mean, does it help the game of golf? Does it help the PGA ultimately? Because to me, the PGA is the PGA, and it's numero uno. That's it.
I agree with you. The thing is, you got this group backed by the Saudis. Uh, Greg Norman found this group and says, "Listen, I got this idea," and the Saudis had the money to do it, and it was basically, in my opinion, a hostile takeover, and the tour, or an attempted takeover, and the tour did not handle the situation well in the beginning. They never went to the table to negotiate. And you've got to go to the table and at least discuss, especially when you got a group. When the tour at that time, and for a nonprofit organization, they had $2 billion in the bank, and the Saudis had $650 billion in the bank, and that's your what are we going to do, and how can we make this work moment?
Yeah.
And ever since the very beginning, I don't think the tour has responded good at all with
Mhm.
one decision. There's not what they're taking playing opportunities away from these kids. They're changing the tour. Um, they it's going to be a totally different look. And with this new guy that came in, I don't know him, I haven't met him yet. They're talking about in 2027, it's going to be a 22 tournament season. That's it. And if you count the majors, it'll be 26. So they're cutting it dramatically, and how that's going to look, what the Corn Ferry is going to look like, nobody knows at this point if that goes through. So yeah, you got you got to Chief. What am I trying to say? We lost a, a pool of really top players. You had Cameron Smith was number one at the time. Kepka. You had Dustin Johnson. Um, on and on. Bryson, who's turned into a rock star, DeChambeau. Those guys, if they were still with us, would move the needle, especially Bryson. People want to watch him. He's turned himself into a guy that's very popular. I like him a lot. I think he's doing a great job. But he's over on live, and the only time you see him are in the majors. I'm glad the majors are allowing him to play. But at the same time, if they came to me and I was that age of 47, 48, 49, I'm out of here. I'm taking the money. I'm going to go. It's hard to say no to that kind of money. It's just unbelievable. So, what do you do? So they're trying to counter them, and they come up with these elevated events, the 7 or 8 of those that they have that are $20 million purses, matching the live purses. And the Players Championship last year was $25 million purse. So that's enormous. I mean, I remember when I first got on tour, and we weren't at $1 million purses yet. We were 400,000 and 500,000, and all of a sudden $1 million purse shows up at Doral and Houston and one other one, and everybody's saying, "Golly, they can't maintain $1 million purses. Where are they getting that kind of money?" Well, now you got to go to a sponsor and say. Usually, it was at least 1.5 times to almost 2 times whatever the purse was the sponsor had to put up. So, say a $2 million purse, they had to put up $3 or $4 million. Well, 20 million, they're putting up at least 30. So how do you go to your your board and say we need $30 million for 1 week?
Yeah.
For 1 week, and golly, you can put your name on a football stadium for probably a lot less than that. So I don't know where it's all going to go. I think it's hurt the tour, but the tour's rocking right now. They're doing good. They're still fun to watch. I think I'm going to agree with some people that it's oversaturated. We got the same thing every week, and just in a different city. And how can they change that up? So maybe the 22 events will work. I don't know. The one thing they don't want to do or can't do in their minds is go up against football, because they just can't compete with the NFL.
That's very true. And Fred, so quick transition, because I don't know how much time we have. How much time we have, Edward?
We got 3 minutes.
Okay, perfect. Listen, it's Christmas time, and you and I kind of talked a little bit off the air here. I think your story is very inspirational. It's one of hope. Again, such an arduous journey. One of the things that really struck me, and in today's world, especially on a sports talk show, we're afraid to talk about faith. Well, Edward and I are not. That's the beauty of this show. And one of the things that I found really fascinating about you, you endured countless number of surgeries, and I think you had your knee drained 18 times or something like that, and to the point where I believe you picked up a Bible. And how did that change your life?
Well, I don't know if I can do this in 3 minutes, but I'll go as fast as I can. In the early 90s, being a golfer growing up, I worked at the golf course on Sundays, and I never went to church. I believed in God. I believed in Jesus. I never not believed, but I just never spent the time in the Bible or going to church. And then I got out on tour, and they had the God Squad, which was Tom Lehman, Larry Mize, Bernhard Langer, Scott Simpson, and a few others. And I just started watching them, and they acted different than everybody else. They would get frustrated, they would get mad, but when they were off the golf course, they seemed like they were just okay. They were okay with what they are. They didn't identify themselves as what their golf score was. And that's kind of the hardest thing in golf, is I'm only as good as what I shot that particular day. And it's hard to, you can't live that way. There's too much pressure. And, they got that song, Jesus Take the Wheel. And I remember, I started going to the studies in the early 90s there. And it just, they became they were my brothers. They're my brothers. And we just supported each other in a really difficult life. Golf is not glamorous to make a living at. It's pretty cool when you're playing good, but it's pretty devastating when you're not. And you're alone a lot, so it's got to be you got to have something. You got to have something that's inside, and having the Christian faith really helps because you got you're not alone. That's the biggest thing is that I'm thinking you're just not alone. And yeah, I got a staph infection in 2008 from having my knee drained almost every week, and I was almost lost my leg, and I went to a bookstore to get something because I was trying to do rehab and everything, and I went to the Christian section, which I've never gone to, and I saw the binder, the back of the books, and it said, "Read the Bible in 90 days." I went, "That's perfect. I got 3 months. I got a rehab." I said, "I can do that," and I did do that. So it was the first time I really put a Bible in my hand and read it. And I remember calling Larry Moody, who lives in Maryland, and he was
Oh,
our tour chaplain, and I'm reading all the Old Testament, and the Old Testament's like, "Geez, don't piss off the Lord, man. You're in trouble." And then I called Larry one time. I says, "Hey, Larry, I'm like two-thirds away, two-thirds through this book of the Old Testament, and when's Jesus show up?" And he
yeah.
just started laughing. So he says, "You'll get there. You'll get there. That's in the new one." And I said, "Golly, finally Jesus shows up in the New Testament or the
Yeah.
the New Testament."
Yeah, you
And
gotta, if
and I was
3 months
like,
in, you gotta go 2
it was
months in the
like a
old.
breath of fresh air.
Okay. Well, let's go to our third trivia question here and we'll cut to our break. Which luxury fashion brand has a logo with two interlocking C's? C. All right. Stay with us. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back with some closing comments. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mike McDowd and our special guest, Fred Funk. Third trivia question. I'm talking fast because we only have so much time. Which luxury fashion brand has a logo of two interlocking C's? Go ahead.
Country Club.
Chanel.
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 Country Club. I like Country Club better. Just really quickly, here's my silly joke of the week. Did you know that if you eat cake fast enough, your Fitbit will think you're walking, especially on the golf course? That's a good thing. A good way to
Wow.
do it. So, Fred, you've got a golf course you want to plug. Go ahead.
Yeah, the Rain Dance out in Colorado. It's north of Denver, an hour, just outside Loveland, and it was the biggest thrill of my life to actually have an opportunity to be a part of designing and building a golf course. And it's really, really good. Got ranked. It's the second longest in the world. That's another. It's 8,460 yards.
Wow.
So if you really want to hit it and destroy your ego, go back there. But it's more to the story. But it's a beautiful piece of land. There's a lot to do. You're heading first tee shots right into the Rockies, a 14,000-foot
Beautiful.
long peak, and it's really, really pretty. So
You have any par sevens? Or is it
no.
par six?
There's three par fours that are 585, 595, 605. But these long guys, because it's downhill, altitude, and fescue, like my son, 180 ball speed, he hits 9-iron in all three of those.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's
Okay. There you go.
it's
Well, Fred,
it's
it's been
amazing.
an absolute pleasure. We're going to have you on again. I know you got a lot more great stories for us. Here's our thoughts for the day. Brain cells die, skin cells die, even hair cells die. But fat cells must have accepted Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior because they seem to have eternal life. Talking
That's
about that.
pretty good.
And sometimes I just want someone to hug me and say, I know it's hard, but you're going to be okay. Here's chocolate and $6 million. That's what I want them to do. Okay, audience, tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and asking more trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Fred, thank you, military.
Brett.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. You guys are great.